Hello and welcome. My name is Roxy and I am your host of The Journey of Awakening, a show sharing the stories of those going through an awakening and how they're making impact in the world. My next guest is a dear friend of mine, AnneMaries Martinez. She is an international host and spokesperson and branding and lifestyle specialist, and I'm so grateful to have her as a guest on my show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I really would love to share your story because you come from the hospitality industry for so long, of what really inspired your transition or your awakening into the wellness industry and really merging those two worlds together.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share this space with you.
Yeah, thank you.
I was in hospitality for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I realized that although I was in the business of service, customer service,
Yeah.
making people feel good,
Yeah.
I was not feeling good myself.
Yeah.
I say it's the not so happy hospitality industry.
Right.
Because people are on their feet all the time. They're exerting or depleting energy, sometimes erratically or irresponsibly.
Right.
They have to constantly have a smile on their face. Their job is to make others feel good, right? But what happens in that process is that we forget to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And in that, we end up losing the passion for people or the original reason we got into the business in the first place.
Right.
And in my case, I just became very depleted. I was tired. I burnt the candle on both ends.
Yeah. And would you like to share, because hospitality, like, were you in the nightlife, hotel industry? Yeah.
So I started my career in nightlife at 18.
Okay.
And I worked my way up. I went in from nightlife to lifestyle, nightlife restaurant brands,
Right.
franchising, licensing, and then to hotels, developing wellness hotels.
Right.
So I did grow throughout the industry, throughout the different sectors of hospitality.
Yeah.
But I realized that in every area, from nightlife to restaurant and hotels,
Right.
we were all facing the same problem.
Right.
And that was our own lack of self-care, getting the rest that we needed in order to do our jobs efficiently.
Yeah.
And what I found was there was a gap, there was something missing within the industry, and that was having internal structure to make sure that the staff is well. How do we empower them? How do we make sure that they're healthy?
Right.
Because the more empowered and healthy they are, the more they can perform for us, right?
Right.
So I realized that this was missing. And how could I show up in that environment knowing that I had the ability to share my ideas and bring them to life?
Right.
And that's where the whole idea came in about the corporate well-being.
Yeah.
And creating a structure and regimen within the hospitality industry where people felt now like they could still do their job and get the rest that they needed.
Right. And that's, like you said, in corporate, the more people are feeling well, the more they can perform, the more they can show up and have that balance. And I feel like that's, whether it's hospitality, real estate, or many industries, people don't have that balance. And that's why you feel burnt out.
That's right.
So was there something that was like a catalyst for your awakening or for your transition out of that industry into, creating, what you're creating right now?
Sure. There was. So I moved from New York in 2010 to Los Angeles.
Right.
And the vision for me was to pursue my career more so at the capacity that I am today, more as a thought leader, speaking on experiences, intangible experiences, where people are going, what they're doing.
Right.
But because my career was taking off, it took me outside of LA, all over the world.
Yeah.
And really, I saw that. I forgot the question.
Oh. I said, what was like the catalyst for your awakening and transitioning?
Right. Okay. So I moved to Los Angeles, and when I moved to Los Angeles, the opportunities for work began to open up abroad.
Yeah.
The first opportunity I got in Turks and Caicos allowed me to see that I had been burning the candle at both ends.
Right.
And the personal and spiritual development work began there. I worked with a Reiki master. I got to really get in touch with myself. At that point in my life, I didn't really like myself. I didn't know myself. And I found that for the next decade, I was flopping in and out of entertainment, hospitality, well-being. But I would have these erratic, radical changes. And I'd go from like nightlife, crazy bottle service to wanting to be in the lotus position and be like a monk and not speak to anyone. So that was really weird, scary, uncomfortable because I didn't understand.
Right.
But it wasn't until Dubai, which was, I think, the final, like, you know, they always say the whisper, right? Then becomes a roar. And that whisper got really loud. And finally, one day, I just woke up and I said, I can't do this. And I walked away from everything that I owned in order to pursue a life of well-being, to seek, to have deeper meaning and understanding of who I was, what was happening around me, and how I could really learn to live a more healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I love that so much because, you know, they say everything in life prepares you. So it's all that knowledge that you've gained to really bridge the world, because I've been to some of your events, Involution, for example, and it was such a beautiful curation of, you know, DJ, breath work, art. I mean, would you like to share that? Because that's what I'm seeing more. It's like, it's beautiful. The world's waking up. Everyone wants to get into different modalities of teaching, but there has to be this uniqueness, and there has to be, you know, an experience, because that's what people want, is the experience.
And I'm so glad you got to see that and really immerse yourself in it, because for me, it was like, all right, how do I take my background in nightlife, entertainment, being that host, developing concepts, and create something really cool that I can introduce to the mainstream market? And how do I glamorize and create a more sophisticated experience for those in the spiritual and conscious community? I wanted to bridge the gap. The way I see it right now is I'm bridging the gap between the world of well-being, luxury, hospitality, and entertainment. How can we be well, have a good time, where people don't look at it as hippy-dippy or too scientific or it's not for me? No, it can be super cool. It's all about the curation and the experience. And the one that you went to was pretty mixed, because I wanted there to be that whole DJ element. But what we did very strategically is that we worked with the frequency of the music. So that it plays at 432. And 432 hertz is what promotes joy, happiness, love. So it's about getting really smart and thinking from a cellular level, strategizing, emotional intelligence, and how do we curate something that is inviting, not intimidating, and where it inspires and ignites something in everyone. So the tagline has been, we want you to come here and have your own aha moment. It's not up to us to tell you what is going to help you awaken, what's going to awaken that spirit or excite you. We just want to offer you the tools and the resources and the opportunity to experience, and then you have that on your own.
And I love that. So what is your mission more to bring this into corporate or to hospitality? Because
so being that I got to work in all the facets of the business, I went at the end of my career to work on the corporate side. So working with the investment companies that own, operate, and develop their own brand concepts. I am now going to be introducing something called the MORE method, which I will introduce to corporate companies that have restaurants, nightclubs, and hotels. And this MORE method is a mixture of emotional intelligence, quantum physics, personal development, training, fitness, and business. And I'm so excited to introduce that, because I think that everybody needs a piece of it all. I was lucky enough to get myself immersed in all these different modalities and trainings, but to bring them all together at once, bring them together. Well, I feel like that's what, because someone that's not in wellness wouldn't know where to start. So it's like, what do I do? It's kind of like popcorning around, but to create like that kind of diversity and bring it is just so, it's bridging the world of, I think wellness was once looked at very woo-woo, tree huggers, but it's like, no, like tree huggers, like we're all tree huggers, but like really like,
healing comes from within, and I love that people are like looking outside of the pharmaceutical industry. There's people like Joe Dispenza that are explaining,
Love him.
Quantum healing. There's so many Reiki healers and masters, but that people are actually opening their eye to this. So that's what I really love to see what's happening with
me too, and for us
healing.
to showcase a different side of spirituality, because how fashionable are you?
Yeah.
Right? Don't we enjoy to
Yeah.
get dressed up?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I can't like nice things or have a sophisticated palette because I'm more spiritual. I want to be a little bit more self-aware.
Right.
And I think that these are the stigmas that we want to break. Conscious is cool.
Yeah.
Having integrity, it's you either have it or you don't. You either follow the things that you say you're going to do or you don't. You're either kind or you're not.
Yeah.
It's become a trend. Oh, now it's a trend to be that. I was raised very old school. Integrity, code of ethics, and dignity.
Yeah.
So if this is what people want to promote as a trend today, then I hope they're truly living by the words that come out of their mouth, their actions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm seeing that needs to be a bridge too. But it's the same thing that I feel like the world is going through an awakening. And what does that really mean is just us coming together in a loving way. So it's operating off of a principle of supporting, uplifting, helping, compassionate, just like you said, integrity, honesty, all those things.
And honesty is not always pretty, right?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. People can take things the wrong way.
Yeah.
Your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
But sometimes justifying the feeling, why were we upset? Really getting the whole EQ thing.
Yeah.
Understanding one another, being patient, taking a step back, observing, assessing, responding, not reacting.
Right.
But we don't all have access to those tools.
Right.
So more conversations and more vulnerability around that. So I had something happen a couple of days with a friend of mine. It took me 2 days to answer him back today because he hurt my feelings, and I didn't know how to really be truthful at the fact that he hurt my feelings.
Right. Right.
I had to really break it down over and over again, what truly upset me about what he said to me.
Right.
And then in the end, I was like, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah, yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I feel that what we're seeing is like we've been taught to shove down feelings, to shove down, what we truly mean, and those things manifest into disease in our body. And to speak your truth is just liberating on your energetic body, and we can.
Yeah, and maybe we need to see more of that too. Maybe there are workshops and courses about speaking your truth or effective communication, where it's not so structured as a lesson, but more so where you get to move in the body. Yeah. And that's what I want to also create, different ways to educate, this whole edutainment. How do I become educated and more knowledgeable on a subject without feeling intimidated as if it may not be for me because I may not be able to retain the information? So more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's like you said it, like people have always looked at like healing as so serious and so but it's not. Like, yes, you have the moments that you may cry, but we're here to have fun with it. So you're seeing, ecstatic dance, you're seeing all this stuff, you're seeing the breath work. I mean, you're seeing a lot of beautiful curations and experiences that are also healing. And I mean, it's just beautiful what's birthing in the world right now.
Yeah. And how it's all over the world too, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different places you can travel to get different experiences based on what their practices are.
Right.
But to see it becoming more universal in mainstream markets, I think is really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So what legacy do you wish to leave behind with the work that you're doing?
I think I've mentioned this to you before in the past. Like, I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm a student, and I want to continue learning. And I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
But if I can share my experiences and it inspires or empowers one person to want to do better and be better, then I feel like I've done my job.
Yeah. Love that. That's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And so you do this type of work too for consulting and branding, because I've seen you curate other events too. So would you like to share like what type of
Sure.
branding and conscious branding that you curate for people?
So I have some companies that will seek my services to either represent them in the media or to fly out to different destinations to look at potential locations to build out new projects.
Okay.
Whether those are well-being hotels, institutions. I'm called upon sometimes to speak at events.
Yeah.
How are we bringing well-being into the corporate world?
Yeah.
What the importance is of well-being. So I've been very lucky and blessed to take my background in hospitality and really create opportunities for myself that allow me to share my experiences and also share my market insight and my intellectual property behind the projects I've worked in so that people can use them for their businesses as well.
Yeah, and I love that's what you shared about is I love that. I feel like that's why we're seeing this big shift in the world is because people with the business background are, using their background, their area of expertise and doing, bringing wellness into it and bringing that out into the world.
Yeah.
So, it's just beautiful to see that wave of change that's coming through.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like I have a responsibility.
Yeah.
And as you know, with the journey of awakening, once you have become awakened, you can never go back to sleep.
No, you can't. And then it's so eye-opening too and so liberating that you want to share that experience and hold that space for others of like, okay, I know it's scary, I know it's dark. What's that joke that you're going through an awakening when all your friends change,
Yeah.
You just have different, different conversations. You have different, different interests and
And I always say too, like everyone is in your life for a season, a reason, and a lifetime.
Yeah.
And sometimes your biggest lessons come from people that you love the most that you didn't think would ever leave your life. And they'll be the ones that have the biggest poke or leave the biggest scar, but that was part of what they were meant to do in your life.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's something I'm facing with a lot of sometimes, or my family around me is like, oh, well, this is good, this is bad. And I'm like, I say to them, this is all divine, like everything's for a reason. And it's like understanding that our soul chose this path and whatever experiences we go through, okay, the highs, the lows, but we're all here to continually expand. But those times.
Right, even when the times are like, when you're like by yourself and you're like, I know this is for a reason, but wow, it really sucks right now.
Yeah, and it's just pushing through that. And then you start to notice as you continue to go through it, you just become less reactive and the observer of your life. So then you just see the beauty. And imagine, like, I always share that in my classes, like, everything is divine. And imagine every day you're waking up with that's your mantra, everything's divine. Like, you're really emanating that frequency. So that's what you're calling in.
That's right.
So
and it's practice, right?
Yeah.
It's accountability to ourselves for when our mind goes somewhere that it shouldn't, bringing it back, and then having relationships and people that you can have conversations with when you're not feeling your best, and helping one another to bring one another up.
Right, definitely. That's so funny it's not funny, but they always say the shoemaker that can't fix their own shoe. So that's really, what you're sharing, hospitality, they're here to please other people, but then in retrospect, they're, everyone's burned out from just giving so much.
Yeah. And also from that, I'll add too, the amount of folks that are drinking a lot of caffeine or doing drugs or drinking alcohol because they have to perform.
Right.
That becomes a really vicious cycle too, and that's very scary. So it's like, how do we drink responsibly if we are to drink? How do we consume things in a balanced manner?
Right. Well, it would be better not to drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But how do we have a balanced lifestyle when you're in an industry that is,
Yeah. Because that's what is happening in that industry, right? They're selling alcohol and food, and that got really tough for me too, which is why I chose to remove myself entirely from working at the capacity that I was.
Right.
But today I feel like my mission is to go back in there.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to go back to the place that we left in order to get to the next level and bring other people with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Would you like to share, AnneMarie, where we can find you?
Yes, guys, please support my page, AnneMarie Inc. TV on YouTube. I'm launching a new series called Deeper. It's an inside job. And join me on Instagram at AnneMarie Inc. to find out about upcoming events, and DM me if you feel called to and if you want to share something. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.